We bring in the Democratic Congresswoman from California, Judy Chu. Welcome back, Congresswoman. So the big, beautiful bill facing a test. You had protesters outside. You know, the president, I think he said something earlier when he was talking about this. It's going to be the largest tax cut in history, largest deregulation bill in history, good times ahead or something to that effect. What do you say?
The question is who those tax giveaways are for. That $5 trillion worth of tax giveaways are for the top 1% in this country. And in order to make the wealthy wealthier, what they are doing is making massive cuts in Medicaid and in health care. We are actually voting on the cuts to ACA that would happen in our committee. And as a result, 13.7 million Americans would lose their health care coverage. In addition, there'd be $230 billion worth of cuts to our food aid programs called SNAP. So in order to give this massive tax giveaway to the billionaires, there would be so many millions of Americans that would be left without health care and without food to eat. That's not right.
No, and many Republicans agree with you on that. It does bring up kind of a larger question I've asked the Democrats and Republicans over the years. Everybody says, oh, the government's spending too much. We've got to do something about all these, all the debt and all the deficits. But then when it comes down to cutting these programs, nobody wants to see that. So what's the long-term solution, would you say, if someone says, well, you know, the spending is out of control, what should we do?
I think there could have been thoughtful cuts made in particular programs, but it would have to have been made with a scalpel rather than with a chainsaw. The kinds of cuts that Elon Musk and DOGE made were just like hacking away without really seeing what those cuts would do. For instance, cutting our National Weather Service. We rely on them to prevent disasters, to get a warning about when to get it out of the way when there is a hurricane, tornado, or a wildfire coming. So we need those kinds of services, and I don't think it's right to make 80,000 people in the Veterans Administration go without a job. They are threatened to be fired, and 25% of them are veterans. These are people who served our country and sacrificed for us.
Okay, let me switch gears for a moment and talk about the president's trip overseas. And we're going to get into the details with our panel in terms of deals that he signed and what he's pumping up over there. There's been criticism, however. It's not just from Democrats. It's from some Republicans as well. In fact, on the tablet right now, let me put this up, GOP criticism of the president on this Qatari plane, the idea that the Qataris are going to gift a new Air Force One, you know, likes of Rick Scott and Rand Paul, Josh Hawley, and Senator Capito have spoken out. And here's a clip from Chuck Schumer on what he wants to do, and I want to see what you think of this. He wants to hold up some nominees. Here's Senator Schumer.
News of the Qatari government gifting Donald Trump a $400 million private jet to use as Air Force One is so corrupt that even Putin would give a double take. I am announcing a hold on all DOJ political nominees until we get more answers.
What do you say, Congresswoman? What do you agree with Senator Schumer, I assume, or?
I applaud Senator Schumer's statement because it's entirely improper for the American government to be accepting this gift of $400 million of this airplane from a foreign government. You know, we have an emolument clause. That's a fancy term for we're not supposed to be accepting gifts from foreign governments. And it lays the way for corruption. Not only that, I understand that this is not such a great deal after all, because the plane would have to be modified because it doesn't have such things as fueling while in the air. So it is bad all the way around, but the worst part of it is the fact that it leads to corruption.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.